As we celebrate National County Government Month, it's appropriate to recognize the work of the National Association of Counties, led by President Gary Moore of Boone County, Kentucky, and its able executive director, Matthew Chase. Over 25 years ago, NACO launched this initiative to promote the work of county governments across the United States. And we're very pleased of the work that NACO has done for the New York counties over this pandemic period of 2020, stimulus work of 2021. So on behalf of the New York counties, on behalf of the president of the New York Association of Counties, the Honorable Jack Marin, we wish to say thank you to President Gary Moore and Executive Director Matthew Chase. April is National County Government Month. NYSAC and our counties are marking that with the theme Counties Matter, particularly in light of our leadership role in the COVID-19 pandemic. We're also marking County Government Month by celebrating the elected county officials who are now in the state legislature. There are many. In fact, today we're joined by over 8 members of the state legislature who are former county officials. Before we get started with today's conversation, I want to recognize NYSAC Legislative Director Ryan Gregoire, who works with state lawmakers on a daily basis and helped to coordinate today's special county conversation. Ryan.
Well, thank you, Stephen, and good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see you all. You know, we're joined today by county executives, former county executives, former county legislators. Assemblywoman Button-Shawn has worked for a local community college, which of course has a county sponsor role to it. We have town supervisors who sit on county boards. And then, of course, we have a former NYSAC president with us, Assemblymember Galef. And then we also have John Rivera, who's worked for departments, Department of Public Works and for the Erie County Executive. So we have we have a great cross mixture of former county experience, local government experience. And again, I just thank all of you for being with us and thank you for keeping up the fight. You know, especially just coming out of this budget negotiation, all of you, we've been in touch with all of you throughout that process. And we could not have all collectively made it through without having you and your voice representing counties. So with that, Stephen, thank you. I'm going to go back to you now.
Okay, thank you. So I have with me here for lack of a better word, an organizational chart. And I'll just list, this is sort of the organization of a county, Donna, it happens to be Broome County. But if we look at a typical county, this would be reflective in all the counties of New York. There's an aging office. Many counties run an airport. This county has an aviation department and an airport, budget, community alternative systems agency, economic development, emergency services, employment and training, environmental management, health, public health, law, mental health, motor vehicles, nursing home, parks and recreation, personnel, probation, public defender, district attorney, public transportation, public works, risk management, social services, solid waste, stop DWI, veteran services, weights and measures, the youth bureau. There's also the elected officials of the county legislature, the county executive, and the judiciary, Broome County court system, Broome County Family Court, Broome County Court, and other functions of the county, such as the county clerk, the district attorney, and the sheriff, and the board of elections. The point I'm trying to make is the counties seem to be involved in everything. All governmental functions of the state have a counterpart in local government, and that is hosted through the level of county government. It seems like we have a lot of relationships between these two levels of government. And as we support, promote the county services in New York during National County Government Month, I think it's just great to have so many of you that are with us here from the state legislature with us to share some of your views about what you see in the halls of Albany, in the Capitol, and even in your district when you return home, the issues that you look at, how you look at things now as a state official, matters concerning local government, and some of the reactions that you get, the interactions that you may have with folks in the district and in the capital. So if you want to respond or have a comment to make, Ryan, thank you for suggesting that. Please make a note or just in the chat line there, raise your hand, and we'll call on you. Keep our responses to a minute or two so we can get through a discussion here. But I guess the first thing we want to say here is, how has working for county governments impacted your approach to public service at the state level? That's the first question I want to put out on the table. How has this, your experiences on a board? Let me go to Sandy Galiff. I'm going to go right to Sandy Galiff with this one. And I'm doing that for a reason, because Sandy was the president of the New York State Association of Counties. Out of the thousands of officials in any given year that are elected officials, Sandy rose to the ranks of the NYSAC president and served with distinction on the NYSAC board. You spent a lot of time with NYSAC over the years. What are your thoughts about working for the Westchester County Board of Legislators, and now how that's impacted your approach to public service?
Well, thank you so much, Steve. And I really enjoyed my NYSAC experience. And I do think that helped me to decide to run for the New York State Assembly because I went to Albany so much to lobby on behalf of our counties. And I served in the Westchester County Board of Legislators for 13 years prior to becoming a member of the Assembly. And of that, I had many years as minority leader. So I know what it's like to try to be in the minority on a board and trying to get something done and having as much of a bipartisan aspect to all this as you can. And, you know, I think it's so important that there are so many people on this Zoom and so many people that are in the New York State Legislature that have had involvement with both county governments or local governments, because I think it really makes a difference in how we frame the issues, how we think about things. When I first got to Albany, I remember having a press conference on all the issues that NYSAC wanted, whether it was Medicaid reform, whether it was early intervention, sales tax, whatever it was. And so I remembered what was happening. Now, you can't always get something done just because, you know, you put forward legislation, but certainly I think that's always in the back of my mind, and probably others that are on this panel today. What we share are real interest in county government, and to make sure that the state doesn't intrude upon our counties in a negative way, and hopefully in a very positive way.
Thank you very much, Assemblywoman Galiff. Assemblywoman Buttonshaw, let's hear from you and your experiences. In particular, you work for a community college.
Yes, again, thank you for the opportunity to be here today and meet everyone. Ryan, I know you did quite a bit of communication with my office, so I appreciate that. I have an academic background, you're correct. Taking a different approach from that county government. I think the key that appeared to work so well is the word partnership, is that you can't do anything alone. And knowing how much the county governments do, they are the boots on the ground. They are connected. They really understand what their needs are. And I'm very fortunate to work with Jim Wallace and Tony Pacenti, and to have a quick call and conversation with them. So I think the most important, shall we say, tool that I bring from my experience at the community college is understanding that no one can do it alone, and that partnership comes from the county government level. With programs that were developed at the community college, and as a administrator, I knew the importance of making sure that we knew what the community needed. You know, people have great ideas, but programs that are really not going to help within the county and their needs, then, you know, we have to kind of make a little turn of reality. So I have to say that I'm very appreciative. And I know when you went through the organizational chart and you said there seems to be a parallel, I think that there is maybe a parallel possibly in the titles, but I see that what county government does is the application and gets the results. So you find that it can't be done without that insight. Obviously, I could take a look at when we look at the academic component is the importance of research and data when we're making decisions. So that's something, again, that I see even today, the community colleges, I have 2 in my district and 2 four-year institutions. And it's very helpful to what they can bring to the table. So I can't thank you enough for all the work that you've done through the pandemic, because I think that, again, not being able to pick the phone up or text quickly to my counterparts at the county level, we wouldn't have gotten as far as we have. I mean, whether it's vaccines and the work that you've all, you know, have done through the system, the PPE, you know, when you talked about emergency services of someone needs it, let's call the county, they're on it. So the most important aspect, though, I'd have to say is the ability to have those strong partnerships. And I think Sandy hit on it. It is nothing that has to do with party lines. Bipartisanship is something that works very well at the state and county level. So thank you.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Button-Sean. Assemblyman Simpson, just working across the screen here as the images are on my screen here. You represent a very unique district. The Assembly Conference is large, and many representing the city of New York, and you are in the midst of the Adirondack Park. This is a very unique place in New York State, nation. Let's hear from you about your voice and your experiences in county government and how you approach public service now that you're a member of the State Assembly.
Thank you, Steve. You know, as you said, I was a town supervisor and a county supervisor. I served on the Warren County Board of Supervisors for 7 years. And, you know, my experience with NYSAC, it really gave me a foundation, and it was all about relationships and partnerships from the conferences that I attended and the trainings. And it really prepared me for understanding, while there's a lot of issues that we have in common, there's also a lot of diversity. You know, we have the Adirondack Park in my district. You know, I find myself speaking with a lot of my Long Island colleagues who share some of the same environmental concerns that we have in the Adirondack Park. So there are definitely, you know, differences along with many commonalities, but it's all in the partnerships and understanding each other's districts. And I found it's been an amazing experience so far, now that we passed the budget last night, and I'm through that. But, you know, I can't say enough about my experience with NYSAC. It really gave me the foundation that I needed, and you know, meeting and socializing with some of the other people from other parts of the state and understanding their issues and where they're coming from. You know, we all were very supportive of the CHIPS funding, and we all understand water quality, but water quality is different in my district than the you know, other districts that have public water supplies that you know, municipal water needs. And so it's been a great experience, and I wouldn't have been as prepared as I am if it wasn't for my involvement with NYSAC.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Senator Morello, I don't know how many people in New York know, I'm probably dating myself, but I was a huge fan of Lucille Ball. And I thought the world of her when I was a kid watching her, and how funny she was, and what a trailblazer she was in comedy. And I believe there's an International Comedy Hall of Fame or in Chautauqua County. You were the county executive in Chautauqua County, served there, and now in the New York State Senate. How has your experience been from transitioning from being a county executive chief elected to a senator, working in a body of senators to get things done?
Well, first of all, thank you. And we are certainly proud to be the hometown here of Lucille Ball and the National Comedy Center. And it's an amazing place that you all should visit. But, I will say this, oftentimes people say you need to experience something, walk in someone's shoes before you can truly appreciate what they do. And that to me has been the greatest thing as a 10-year veteran of county government, to as county executive before going to the state legislature. And what you said before about county government, looking at all the services, county government is literally at the tip of the spear when it comes to so many things. And that was, so obvious and evident in this pandemic. County government had to take the lead from a public health standpoint and from everything else that we had to deal with. And for me, what I bring from that experience as a county legislator and a county executive is how important what county governments do and the resources that they are in charge of and responsible for deploying is to our state government. And I want to keep that every day in my heart and mind when we're making decisions. I also think it's important to recognize that having county governments doing this is such a tremendous asset for us at the state level. And we want to do whatever we can to empower them and not hamstring them. And that's really important to me. Whenever I look at something and the impact that it has, I always say to myself, if I was on the receiving end of this particular rule or law, how would I react to this as a county executive? And that helps me base my decisions on whether or not I'm going to support the particular initiative or law. And I think that's important too, because county government is really, local government is the government that's closest to the people. And for us, we need to listen to what county governments are telling us. We need to recognize the impact, whether it's positive or negative, that state rules and regulations and laws have on county government. And to me, being able to have walked in the shoes of a county government official for a decade, I believe makes me a better legislator. And I hope that, and I think I can speak on behalf of all of my fellow former county officials on this event today, that it helps us relay that message to our colleagues, whether it's in our individual conferences or in our committee meetings. I always try to carry that torch because I know how critically important it is for the operation of county government.
Thank you, Senator. We'll wrap up this section of our roundtable. I'll go to Assemblyman Rivera and then to Senator Rath, representing our largest county in Western New York, Erie County, just short of 1 million people. Likely going to get over that 1 million number very soon, I imagine, with all the great things happening in Erie County and Western New York and Chautauqua, Niagara, a beautiful part of the state. Assemblyman Rivera, you have just joined the state legislature, unique experience working for Erie County government, the Public Works Department, and also the county executive's office. You've seen firsthand the multitude of issues, public safety issues, natural disasters, snow emergencies, all sorts of issues, flooding that may affect opioid abuse disorders and substance abuse problems that were affecting the county over the years. You've been through it all. What are your experiences now as you come into the state legislature with the knowledge that you have?
I am very fortunate. I thought I was, a bit lost when I first got here, in part because, you don't know really what you're signing up for, right? You arrive here at these beautiful buildings and you get to engage with all these people, and everybody's kind and hardworking. But at the end of the day, nobody hands you a manual and says, this is how you do it. This is your job from now on. This is all you need to do. But in reality, what I have found is that although the people have been helpful here and everybody is certainly shown kindness, if I didn't have my time in county government to lean on, I really, really would have been much, much more lost. I had the fortunate pleasure to serve in 2 capacities with the county executive, Mark Polencars, and in both of those, I learned firsthand what it was like to dealing with the legislature. So funny story, my first job in county government was as legislative liaison. So it was my job from the county executive's office to go to the legislature and try to discuss, legislation or negotiate the budget or confirm commissioners or whatever procedural matter was before the legislature. And one of my legislators who was tough, real tough, was Ed Rath. So I've known Senator Rath for a while. And then oddly enough, another one of the legislators was Pat Burke, who's also in the assembly with me here. But it was that process, was that experience that exposed me to honestly compromise and legislation and what it really means. So it was wearing that hat that helped me, especially in these last few days, dealing with the budget and the ups and downs. But also, my last year in county government with the Department of Public Works was hugely helpful, in part because one of my focuses was COVID response. And it allowed me to look at everything that we were doing here at the state with a different lens, because I knew what it would look like in its act, and its, in the actual production of effort. So, it was on us to work on opening up testing sites, to figuring out, how we would roll out vaccines when they came out. So, seeing it from that perspective really helped, because you knew what it was going to look like when it had to be done. So I'll always have a perspective from county government, because honestly, that's where the state comes in, and we make a lot of policy, we make a lot of ideas, we fund a lot of things here in the state, but it's honestly the counties that really do the work, because it's in part it's the community colleges, and in part it's the Department of Social Services, and it's the Sheriff's Department, it's our Public Works Department, it's our Mental Health Department. At the end of the day, if county government didn't work, then our residents wouldn't be as well situated. And I'd even go as far as to say is people probably interact more with county government than any other level of government, because whether you're a restaurant owner and you're dealing with the health department, whether you're a foster parent dealing with the Department of Social Services, or if you're just a person paying your sewer bill, you're dealing with county government. So that's why it's always important to have that lens towards, satisfying our residents, our constituents, but also thinking ahead, thinking about what's the best way to spend dollars and cents. So I'll say that.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Senator Rath, you truly bleed county government. Your family I have known for decades. Most of, if not over half of my life, I've known your family, and the building is named after your father in Erie County. You are truly a wonderful public servant. I worked with your mother for many, many, many years. Wonderful contribution to Erie County. And I'm sure, Assemblyman Rivera, that he was a tough county legislator on you, because he was tough with me over the years too. But it's wonderful to have you here, Senator Rath. Thank you for joining us here. What are your thoughts after all that public service in Erie County on that board of legislators? Not an easy board, Erie County legislature, often divided, often politically charged, addressing the needs of the community. How has your transition been?
Sure. Well, thank you very much, Steve. And first and foremost, I remember going back to the very beginning when I was first elected to the Desmond in 2008 for the NYSAC training for newly elected members of county governments. And I remember at that day saying to myself, my gosh, there's so much information. How am I going to figure all this out? But very early on, yourself and your great team at NYSAC were so important, giving us a lot of that foundational information that we needed very early on. And wow, a lot has changed since 2008. But for me, it's a tremendous honor to be in the New York State Senate, and also the work that I did in the county legislature for 13 years before I went to the state Senate. And I appreciate your comments about my mom. She's doing very well. I keep trying to get one past my mom, but she still is such a wily veteran. I can never get anything past her, let me tell you.
Very smart. Yeah.
But I'll tell you, when I talk about county government and I talk about the role and the relationship of county government, I say it is a crossroads with every level of government. And if you think of the county work that's done and the services that are provided, first and foremost, you collaborate very closely with your towns and your villages. but then you also work very closely with the state and the Fed. And so much of the services that are provided and the role of the county government needs to be closely connected with every level of government. And for me, it was very early on, I said to myself, when you're elected, you get a seat at the table. After you are sworn in, what you do with that seat at the table is up to you as an individual elected official. And so what I did was I tried to lean in as much as possible. And for many years, I did work with John Rivera. And John, I can't let that comment go unaddressed. And I have to tell you, the reason why we were as tough on John as we were was because it was how prepared and how ready and how skillful he was when we were trying to give him a hard time in county government. So John, we were all ready for you because we knew you were going to be ready for us.
Thank you, Senator.
Just very briefly, I just wanted to say, applying some of the important roles that you have when you chair committees and you get to know the work, the core work and sort of the grassroots work, economic development and public safety were the two committees I chaired for years and leaned in on all of those issues. And now taking that foundational knowledge from that committee work into the state Senate has really helped me as a learning curve is starting to flatten out.
Thank you, Senator Rath. Thank you for always being there for us. And I'm sure I speak for County Executive Holmgar to say thank you to both you and Assemblyman Rivera for your work to protect the counties in this budget. Donna Lupardo, Assemblywoman Lupardo, I'm on the receiving end constantly. Counties yelling at me and saying, how could this be happening? And what's this going on and that going on? Let me start with you and then we'll go around the room here a little bit. Do your colleagues in the legislature understand what counties do, the role of county government? What's the level of understanding about what counties do in the state legislature? And for that matter, how can NYSAC or counties do a better job of working together with the state lawmakers to improve that level of understanding?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I was hoping I could answer that. I had something to say about your other question.
Go ahead, please. No, start with that.
Because I think maybe I'll loop around to what you're driving at here. I mean, the short version to your question is, I think the majority of our colleagues who have not served in county government or have been worked for county government really do have a limited understanding of the real world impact of this. And it's probably the most valuable experience that I'm taking to this work, having served in the Broome County Legislature, is I truly know what's at stake. I know what the real world consequences are going to be for the decisions that we are making. And I have carried my interests from county government. For example, I was on the transportation committee, and when I hear about CHIPS funding or what's going on at our airports, upstate transit, it's not just the number on a page. I know that this is going to affect bus routes and which streets get paved and how it actually works. What I wanted to swing around to your question about how, to get NYSAC perhaps more in the loop. Yesterday, for example, maybe it was the day before, I've lost track of time, my county executive got in touch with me and said, these tax breaks we're giving to the casinos, it's going to impact the revenue that county government takes. And that budget was going to get voted on that evening. And the very first thing I texted him was, can you alert NYSAC ASAP? I mean, I knew the network had to get activated, and I called Marianne and a bunch of other folks. And within a few hours, because we knew how this would impact our counties, we had a $7 million offset placed in the revenue bill to be able to mitigate that impact. So we knew to engage you. How you can engage people who were not in county government, I think it's a question of inviting them in and giving them the grand tour and showing them, I've crawled around bus garages, I've crawled around airports, I've been up at the landfill. It's meeting the people who do the work and knowing how much these small amounts of dollars matter. But I think it's probably engaging them personally on the scene in areas that they may need some more education.
Here's Assemblywoman, and thank you for commenting on the first question that we asked too. That was very important. Comments that you made. Other folks want to comment about the level of, we have a tough government. We have a system in the Constitution that really empowers this governor with finances, the finances of the state and presenting budgets. This is a very powerful position. And then the legislature, of course, deliberates and appropriates. And how do you get a sense of your colleagues understanding county governments? And are there other ways that counties could, I see Assemblywoman Galev's hand up. We'll go to Assemblywoman Galev now. How can counties better inform the members of the state legislature about the issues that are concerned to them?
Well, it's not easy because when I first ran for the county board, nobody knew what the county did in Westchester County. So you're starting with a lot of people that just don't understand county government at all. I find the best thing I would say is that each county really has to have, and I think most of them probably do, have meetings with their state legislators. They're basically talking about legislation, but there are other ways, and when Marianne was talking about higher education, getting people. I know in Westchester, we go to the community college, we're on campus, we're being lobbied about what is needed there. Last summer, we haven't been doing much lately, but we went to our local prison and had a discussion right at the prison with what some of the needs were. So I think in relationship with what Donna was saying is that you physically need to be places to understand some of the operations. Now, I think it's a lot easier for the county governments outside of New York City. I don't know how our New York City colleagues really understand. I mean, it is a city, but there are 5 counties, right? 5 counties?
5 boroughs, yes.
Right, 5 boroughs. So I don't know how they all get an understanding of how all of that works, unless it's in their community. So I can't speak to that. But I think it's really, the on-site visits and the absolute connection. And, I think we in Westchester have done pretty well because we have a number of my colleagues that have served in county government or have been so directly involved in county government that they understand it. So it really, and our county executive now in Westchester was in the assembly, was in the Senate, was a county legislator. I mean, George Latimer has been able to pull it all together. So it is really helpful, but it is so important. And with legislation, I think about I'm real property tax chair, and every time a bill comes to me, I actually think about how that exemption or whatever, or change in law is going to impact all of the communities that not just I represent, but the whole state, and the impact of it. And, sometimes it's hard to get there if you haven't had that earlier experience. But it is continual education. And I think county, state officials have to always have that continuing education.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Galev. And it sounds like, listening to all of you here, that we need to make sure that our leaders in these chambers are coming upstate. And I look forward to inviting the Speaker of the State Assembly. He usually does an upstate swing, an upstate tour. Perhaps we can bring him around the state and show him wonderful parts of the districts that you all represent. And the same with Leader Stuart Cousins. Sounds like a great idea. Senator Rath, you had your hand raised on this question about level of understanding.
I did. And
do the issues of county government come up in conference, or without disclosing, exactly, just in discussions? Do the county governments, do they come up in the discussions?
Yeah, that's actually a perfect segue to what I was going to talk about. And I wanted to expand a little bit on what Sandy had said. And I think, to everyone on this call, the issue of unfunded mandates and the impact on counties is incredibly dramatic. And I don't think that there's an awareness, unless you come from county government, as to what unfunded mandates do, New York State's unfunded mandates, to a county spending plan. And in Erie County, and John, I'm looking right at you because we've talked about this so many times in Erie County, 88% of our budget is unfunded mandates. And that's a $1.7 billion budget. And I actually have shared this with members in my conference, as well as the other side of the aisle, that unfunded mandates suffocate counties. And it's frustrating when a county has to create a spending plan And there really is such limited resources for the things that you want to do to make a difference in your county. And you just literally have to fulfill the state's mandated services. And for example, every single dollar that's raised in property taxes in Erie County pays for our portion of Medicaid services. Every single dollar, about $250 to $275 million. So for the longest time, I've been sort of beating the drum for unfunded mandate relief. And now I can share that county perspective for unfunded mandate relief in Albany.
Yeah, it's a tough thing. Mark Levine, our deputy director here, talks about frequently with me. Where you sit is where you stand. And so where we sit in county government, we try to remind the state and the governor, the state legislature of these issues of implementing state policies. How it's not that we don't want to do that in local government and county government. We truly do. We want to serve the people. We want to provide the policies that you implement in Albany, in Chautauqua County, and in the counties around the state. It's not that we don't want to do it, but we just want to make sure that there's resources put behind it so that we can effectively implement your programs. And without those resources, what happens? Well, we have to cut local programs and local services. And those are the things that, you know, a George Latimer in Westchester might want to do on his own for his people in the county to provide those local services. Maybe it's a veterans program, which is a non-mandated program, or youth programs or senior programs. Those are non-mandated programs and services, or improve the public safety system, another non-mandated service, but really needs attention. So there's a lot of tension that goes back and forth between it. And so I just appreciate everything that you all do for us in county government. I know we're coming up sort of the end of our discussion here. I want to go to George Morello to get his final thoughts here on a transition. You spent a lot of time as a county executive, a number of years there serving the people of Chautauqua. You are the most western New York. You couldn't be further away from Montauk and Suffolk County. You could probably be much closer to Cleveland than that ride there. Let's just hear from you about your thoughts about level of understanding of counties and the chamber.
Well, thank you. And this has been a great discussion and glad to be a part of it. But what I really would like to say is that we do have some great assets and partners at the state level. I'm so proud to work with everyone, particularly with Senator Ed Rath, who was the ranking member of the Local Governments Committee in the Senate, and also the chairman, Jim Gorin, who is also a veteran of local government as well. We have great people. And what I would say is, and Ed touched on this, working within the committees, and in particular local government committees in both houses, is a great way to engage and kind of get down into the specifics and challenges that we face. I believe that we have a great, really nonpartisan way of handling things at the local government committee. Jim Gorin's been a great partner, very accessible, and I think that we have so many other things that are affecting us, especially in upstate New York. There's been no better partner when it comes to issues of agriculture than Donna Lupardo in the assembly. She has been great, and I'm just so appreciative of how well she does that. So there are many places. Look, Albany is a very hyper-political place, but there are so many great partnerships that we can tap into at the state level to help local government, to help industries like agriculture and tourism, which are so important to upstate New York and Western New York in particular. So that to me is the best way for us to engage, knowing, even John Rivera and I worked a little bit together when, in the county executive's office. County Executive Polenkars was a great help to me when I first became a county executive. And his office was so accessible. So those are the type of the spirit of cooperation that county government to me brings, and the veterans of county government bring to our state legislature. And I hope that we can continue to be good partners to help bridge that gap between county government and state government.
Thank you, Senator. And I appreciate the comments about the bipartisanship nature of what we do in county government and how we treat members of the state legislature here. We don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. We care we work with you, that you care about the issues and the policies. And we appreciate that our nation is undergoing a tremendous political divide right now. And in the county government level, we don't see that in the services that we provide and the work with you all. We've never experienced a partisan divide. And I'm just so grateful for all of you. And I'm grateful that Assemblywoman Galef will call me and say, Steve, I've got a bill coming to the committee. Have you seen this piece of legislation? She truly cares and understands the impact of it. Or if it's an agriculture issue with Assemblywoman Lepardo and talking about cannabis, the impact of cannabis, or an agriculture issue, what does this mean from farm to table markets in the community and things of that nature? Your outreach to us is just so helpful. And I promise you that if you reach out to us, we'll get you something back not in a political partisan way, but a fastball down the middle about how this affects us. If you're a Republican or a Democrat county, it doesn't matter. We just want to get that information to you. Before I go to Ryan Gregoire, who wants to wrap up and has a few things to say, I did want to give an opportunity to Assemblyman Simpson, who wanted to say something.
I just wanted to give you an example. You know, within the first week or two, when after I took office, and I ran into a couple of my colleagues in the hallways. I ran into Senator Garin, and I had met him through local governments. He had done a roundtable in the Adirondacks, and I'd only met him that one time, and he reached out to me and he said, "Hey, if there's anything that I can help you with, let me know." And that is exactly, what we need, what's going on down there in Albany. And I think that's probably because of his experience with county government and understanding the local issues. And so it really isn't as partisan as people on the outside may think. We really are trying to work together, do good things for people. That's why we were elected, to represent the people that put us there. And I think that's all of our goals, our focus.
Thank you, Assemblyman. And to conclude the discussion today, we'll go to Ryan Gregoire, who spent a lot of time engaging with you and your staff during this legislative session. We're trying to connect with you more, bring more information to you. These Zoom meetings have been wonderful for us to connect with you and your staff and to share issues. And Ryan has really raised the profile of the county platform here at the association. Ryan Gregoire.
Well, thank you, Stephen. And again, thank you all for being here. I know that I bombard all of you with emails constantly. I hope it's not too much. I hope it's valuable. But, certainly I would also like to thank our executive director, Stephen Aquario. I mean, you heard from Stephen today. Without Stephen's leadership, and, I'm lucky enough where I can pick up my phone and say, hey, Stephen, get to Sandy Galef, or get to Senator Rath, or, get to Assemblyman Rivera on X, Y, and Z issue. And he's always there supporting our advocacy issues. He truly, honestly cares about county governments, which is, which I love to be working with him on that. But I want to thank all of you, and in particular, I look at it as everyone who's on the call today. You are the champions within your conference, within the legislature, for county governments. We can bring issues to you, we can bring information to you, but at the end of the day, it's refreshing to know that we have members in the legislature who deeply care about counties. You all talked about it. And the message that you bring to your colleagues and your coworkers is tremendously valuable, extremely important. And certainly there's a lot of wins in the state budget. Of course, there's a lot of more opportunity for us to continue to partner on. And we'll be carrying that discussion with you next year, but certainly throughout the rest of this session. But again, I just want to thank you all for extending that handed partnership to partnering with the counties of New York. I always say to the members and to your staff that, look, we all serve the same people. Your constituents are county constituents. I mean, it's the people of the state of New York. So I just want to thank you all for being there for us. And again, thank you for taking some time out of today to join us.